An underestimated delivery driver faces off against a group of arrogant programmers in a skills competition. What no one expected was for the CEO to see in her a talent and a heart capable of changing everything. Let us know in the comments which city you are watching from and rate this story from 0 to 10. Your opinion is very valuable. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories like this. Emily Carter woke up early that morning, as she did every day. The sun barely peeked over the horizon, casting a soft light over the calm streets of New York. As the alarm clock beeped insistently, she got out of bed, stretching and breathing in the aroma of coffee she had prepared the night before. Her days always seemed the same, an unbroken cycle of deliveries and challenges, but Emily had something that made her thrive, the determination to change her situation. Wearing a t-shirt and a uniform that had seen better days, Emily grabbed her backpack, which held not only her work tools, but also some homemade treats she made at home, always a surprise for the clients who received her. A little kindness never hurts anyone, she thought as she slipped on her worn sandals. A last glance in the mirror, fixing a rebellious strand of hair, and she stepped out for another day of work. As she pedaled through the city, Emily admired the diversity around her, the art on the walls, the smells of food from street vendors, the warmth of humanity pulsating at every corner. To many, she was just another delivery driver, but for her, each run was an opportunity to make a difference, and she did exactly that when she stopped to help an elderly woman cross the street. "Thank you, dear," the woman praised, while Emily smiled, filled with a sense of usefulness that accompanied her through daily challenges. Meanwhile, in a shiny building in the city center, David Johnson was immersed in his glamorous world. The tech startup he had founded was thriving, and he was surrounded by young programmers and enthusiastic collaborators. The atmosphere was smart, but also superficial, with shallow conversations about trends and statistics that seemed to float rather than have real meaning. David observed the hustle and bustle around him, not without a hint of disdain. There was something empty about the way the young people flaunted themselves, as if talent was only related to their looks and the money their parents had. That morning began like any other: meetings, coffee, and more meetings. However, David also felt increasingly lonely. Looking out the window, his eyes wandered over the busy streets of the city, and he wondered if there was more to life than success and transactions. It was in this moment of reflection that he knew he needed to turn his attention to something more meaningful in his life and in his company. Fate brought these two opposing realities together when Emily received a delivery request for a commercial building. As soon as she arrived, Emily barely had time to lock her bike before she overheard a carefree conversation that bloomed in her path. One of the programmers, Ryan Smith, was speaking loudly, laughing with his friends. "Imagine if that delivery driver could code something. I've seen more skill in my cat." The laughter echoed among the others, reinforcing the guilt Emily felt about her job. Although she didn't let it get her down, it was hard to ignore the wave of contempt that hit her. Determined not to let that moment ruin her day, Emily took a deep breath and delivered the order to one of the employees without looking at the arrogant programmers. When Ryan saw the delivery arrive, he decided to take advantage of the joke. "Hey, delivery driver, can you code a diet instead of delivering pizza?" The laughter of his friends echoed like a slap, but Emily laughed along, though bitter inside. She always believed that the best remedy was good humor, even when the words cut like knives. Her eyes, however, suddenly fixed on David, who was approaching, curious about the scene. He observed Emily, not for her appearance, but for the way she handled the situation with dignity and grace. This woman was compassionate, even in adversity, and that caught his attention. The contrast between Emily's delivery and Ryan's frivolity was exactly what David needed to notice. Here was someone with real value, not just a pretty face or an impressive resume. David couldn't shake thoughts of Emily as he left the building. He considered watching her in the rearview mirror as he drove away, wondering how someone with such a necessary spirit could be underestimated while others could only talk about codes and algorithms. Thus, two lives, seemingly so distant, began to intertwine that day, with challenges and uncertainties on the horizon. Emily had no idea that this casual encounter could trigger a series of events that would change not only her life, but David's as well. The stage was set, and the skills competition she was not willing to submit to was beginning to take shape. After the delivery, Emily walked away from the building, leaving behind laughter and ironic comments that reverberated in her mind. Despite the shine and hustle of the streets of New York, she felt a little heavier. That morning, her sense of dignity had been tested, but still, her determination would not let her fall into despair. As she pedaled, she thought about how she could stand out, how she could one day show the world that her worth went far beyond what others saw. "Emily, you're not just a delivery driver," she told herself, as images of her childhood came to mind. She remembered how she always dreamed of being someone important, a simple origin, but full of dreams. "You have a voice, and it needs to be heard," she murmured, determined to transform. That feeling of disdain turned into fuel to seek something greater. Meanwhile, that same morning, within the vibrant atmosphere of David's tech startup, excitement filled the air. With the arrival of a new project, the programmers were ecstatic, and the CEO was reveling in the buzz. The team around him was discussing new innovations that could revolutionize the market, but David seemed disconnected. The comments and laughter from Ryan still echoed in his mind, and something inside him compelled him to question the values of that team. He caught a glimpse of what could be more interesting than lines of code and numbers. With a mix of curiosity and a need to change his path, David decided to investigate on his own, and to do so, he needed to know who Emily was. Through a quick and informal search among his colleagues, he was surprised by what he discovered. The image of a delivery woman tied to stories of effort and determination that went beyond what seemed impossible captured his interest. A determined woman who carried with her a world of experiences and a generous heart. The next day, David was more determined than ever to meet Emily. With his innovative spirit, he decided to create an event within the company, a skills competition that he thought could test not only the technical abilities of the programmers, but also open doors for new talents. He invited everyone, from veteran employees to newcomers, without distinction. Maybe this competition is a way to believe in the diversity we can bring to our business, David thought. The idea of seeing how the community connected was cathartic, as he knew many of his employees were stuck in their own bubbles. When Emily received the notification that there was a new delivery to make at David's startup, a chill ran down her spine, catching her off guard. Not again, she thought. She remembered the last time she had been there, the mockery she faced. But a firm and determined voice in her head encouraged her. "Go, Emily. Show them who you really are." As always, she prepared to give her best. Upon arriving at the building, her feelings were mixed. Emily expected the dynamics to be the same, but there was something different in the air. The gleaming windows reflected the exciting internal movement, but also the anxiety that accompanied her, like a challenge that might not be worth it. In front of the delivery person, a group of programmers was gathered around the tables, excitement for the upcoming competition hanging in the air, and she felt her heart race. When she entered, she couldn't help but steal a glance at David. He was at the center of the action, talking with his colleagues, but what surprised her was the smile he threw her way when he saw her. It was a smile of recognition and pure curiosity, and it caught her attention even amid Ryan's provocations. "Look, it's our great delivery woman back," Ryan said, sarcasm clear in his voice, followed by giggles that echoed. But before Emily could smile back, inexplicably, David interrupted. Actually, Emily is here for a reason. We're organizing a skills competition, and I'm extending an invitation to you, David remarked, taking the lead. His words seemed to light up the place. The very idea of a challenge drew her in. Her heart raced. I definitely don't want you to miss out just because you work as a delivery person. You'll be a great addition to this event. Come, show us what you can do, David said, his sincerity shining clearly behind the CEO facade. Emily was stunned to hear this invitation. The weight of pressure now felt more intense, but the sense of opportunity pulsed through her veins. Somehow, everything was falling into place, the renewed disdain she had felt and the determination that accompanied her. Fear and hesitation began to dissipate, giving way to excitement and possibility. However, Ryan and the others were far from accepting the invitation, so behind mocking laughter, they tried to belittle a meeting that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Who do you think you are to compete with us? You probably don't even know what Python is, Ryan shouted, trying to shake Emily's confidence. But when she saw David's look, Emily stood her ground. I'll study, and just like you did, I'll be there to give my best performance. Don't worry, I'm willing to learn and to exceed your expectations. Emily shot a sweet and ironic smile, determined to give her all. In that moment, a new chapter began. Emily not only accepted the challenge, but saw the light at the end of the tunnel. A spark of hope and determination ignited in her heart. The adversities would now be not an obstacle, but the necessary fuel for her future. Amid laughter and skeptical glances, she was ready for the battle, and David, on the other side, would play a crucial role in every step of this new journey that was unfolding. Emily knew that the time to prepare for the competition was short. In the following days, while delivering packages around the city, she seized every break to study programming. With a borrowed laptop from a friend, her small room turned into a true learning haven. She watched tutorials, unraveled codes, and worked hard to understand everything that could be useful. The nights were long and sometimes frustrating, but the memory of David's words offered her encouragement. The idea of triumphing where she had been underestimated became a powerful fuel. One day, she caught herself laughing at the thought of Ryan's reaction when he saw her shine in the competition. This is my challenge, and I will show that I can do much more, she thought determinedly. Finally, the day of the event arrived. The atmosphere at David's startup was electrically charged with excitement. As Emily entered the building, she felt a mix of anxiety and euphoria. She observed the modern facilities while Emily's heart raced with anticipation. The atmosphere was charged with both pressure and excitement that galvanized her. David gave a brief speech, encouraging the diversity of talents in the competition. Looking at Emily, his smile conveyed confidence as he encouraged everyone to do their best. In the first round, the challenges were intense. Emily focused and, amidst logic and programming tests, began to stand out. Each time she overcame a task, the initial animosity from her peers faded, replaced by admiration. The most critical moment came when Ryan decided he couldn't let the challenge pass without a jab. "Oh, did you bring notes, delivery girl? Don't forget that won't help you," he shouted, surrounded by other classmates. Emily, instead of being shaken, smiled. "It's not your words that will make me hesitate. I'm here to learn and exceed your expectations with every line of code." That response left Ryan speechless and drew respectful glances from classmates who had previously doubted her. As the rounds progressed, Emily showcased skills that surprised everyone. She stood out not only for her correct answers, but for how she handled the pressure. David watched her every move, every achievement, with growing admiration. The connection between them became more evident, and he felt he was getting to know someone very special. Not just a competitor, but a woman fighting to break down prejudices. In the penultimate part of the competition, the participants faced a challenge that required teamwork. Emily teamed up with a diverse group, and together they managed to create an innovative solution. The team dynamic proved efficient, and she emerged as a natural leader. Ryan, on the other hand, remained stuck in the past, struggling to understand that there was much more at stake than just the competition. By the end of the day, Emily not only proved herself deserving, but earned the admiration of many, including David. He approached her to congratulate her and said, "You were amazing, Emily. If you keep this up, you'll have us all thinking." His eyes sparkled, suggesting that more than respect, there was a genuine interest in getting to know her better. With the challenges overcome, Emily realized that this was not just a competition, but a real opportunity to transform how she saw herself and how others saw her. The rest of the team, initially skeptical, now applauded her courage and resilience. The energy in the room shifted dramatically, and the idea that someone like her could be a formidable competitor penetrated everyone's minds. However, Emily knew that the competition was not yet over, and that challenges still lay ahead. Ryan, annoyed and humiliated, decided he wouldn't sit idly by and devised a plan to ridicule Emily once again. But for her, the perception of what was to come, or his actions, no longer mattered. What mattered was that regardless of the obstacles, she had found her voice and was ready to fight for her space. As she left the building that night, Emily felt she had achieved something much greater than a simple victory. She had rediscovered herself as a woman and a professional, and David had become an important part of that journey. The future looked promising, and her determination would guide her down this new path. The competition had only ignited the flame in her heart, and nothing would stop her from continuing to write her story. The next day, the atmosphere at the startup was charged with expectation. Emily's success in the competition still reverberated through the office, and many saw her as a new beacon of courage and perseverance. However, the journey to full acceptance was far from simple. Now more aware of her worth, Emily realized that the echoes of the competition had the potential to shape her future. Ryan, for his part, was not willing to give up. Resentment consumed him, and he devised a plan to undermine Emily's achievements. With malicious whispers, he began spreading rumors insinuating that her success was due to favoritism from David rather than her own merit. That betrayal found fertile ground among some colleagues, and Emily began to feel the weight of distrust in their gazes. Despite the adversities, Emily decided she would not be affected. With the intention of uniting the team and strengthening camaraderie, she prepared a special breakfast at the office. The aroma of bagels and fresh coffee began to waft through the startup, attracting curiosity. Emily hoped that this simple gesture would break down the barriers created by the rumors and ignite the team's spirit. When David arrived, he saw the scene. Colleagues gathered around the table, looking at Emily with expressions of surprise. He couldn't help but admire her courage. "What's going on here?" he asked, smiling. Emily explained her intention to promote a more harmonious environment. She was determined to change the atmosphere and showed that the gathering could serve as a fresh start. As everyone enjoyed the treats, Emily began to talk about her challenges in the competition. The energy in the room gradually shifted, and her colleagues began to genuinely root for her. A feeling of admiration started to form among them, proving that a gesture of kindness could break down walls. Even those who had hesitated to accept her were opening their minds. But Ryan, unwilling to see Emily succeed, decided to interrupt the conversation. "I think that coffee is due to some favor she managed to pull off, right?" he shot, seeking laughter from those around him. The mood in the room cooled, but Emily, instead of being shaken, took a deep breath and faced Ryan. "Ryan, the truth is, I'm here because of my hard work, and I'm willing to work hard to prove otherwise, she replied firmly. David supported her. Emily has demonstrated her worth time and again. No one here is better or worse. We're all learning together. David's words resonated in the room, creating a moment of reflection. Emily realized she was not alone. Emily had allies and could count on them to face adversities. After that meeting, she decided it was time to take a stronger stance. She organized an informal gathering to discuss talents, ideas, and innovations. She wanted everyone to see how powerful a united team could be. While presenting her ideas, she emphasized the importance of collaboration, inspiring her colleagues to give their best. David stood by her side throughout the presentation, supporting each of her arguments. The connection between the two continued to grow. The meeting was a success, and the positive feedback from her colleagues restored Emily's confidence. The energy that had once been filled with distrust was now transforming into mutual support, while Ryan began to realize that his malicious plan had failed. The brilliance of teamwork overshadowed his attempts to interfere. Nevertheless, Ryan refused to give up. He thought of a new scheme to discredit Emily, and at the next meeting he raised the flag of his rumors again, insinuating that she still didn't belong in that environment, that it was a luxury she couldn't sustain. But Emily was stronger now. With a determined look, she replied, "This place is for all of us, and I truly belong here. I've shown that only effort and dedication matter, and more importantly, it's all of us together. We're in this movement of transformation, and I am a part of it." The room erupted in applause, leaving Ryan frozen. Emily's words touched the essence of the team. She had become not just a competitor, but a true leader. David approached her at the end of the meeting, admiring her courage. His respect was a balm to Emily's soul. Their energy lingered in the air, a mix of friendship and a silent tension that connected them. As she walked toward the exit, Emily felt renewed. She had rediscovered herself not just as a woman, but as a professional, and David had become an important ally in her journey. The future looked promising, and her determination intensified with each challenge. She began to realize that she was more than just a competitor. She was shaping herself to be a true influencer in her field. Emily was ready to continue her path, now carrying a new meaning of what it truly means to win. The new energy in the startup was palpable. Emily, now recognized as a leader, decided to move forward with a project that would unite everyone, a creativity and innovation workshop. The goal was to stimulate collaboration, breaking down the barriers imposed by past rivalries. She surrounded herself with David, who was a constant support, always encouraging her ideas, while Ryan, irritated by her rise, began to devise another strategy. During the preparations, Emily mobilized the team with enthusiasm and optimism, fostering an environment where everyone felt part of the process. "This workshop is going to be a great opportunity for us to showcase our collective potential," she stated to the team members, her brilliance and conviction captivating each of them. David stood out in every brainstorming session, his admiration for Emily growing day by day. As the plans unfolded, Ryan tried to slowly sow doubt again. "Don't you think Emily is just trying to promote herself with these workshops? It's not going to work," he whispered to a few colleagues, but despite his efforts, the team was so excited that Ryan's words barely registered. Emily, for her part, was determined not to be shaken and focused on her goal. With the date of the workshop approaching, Emily organized a final meeting to discuss responsibilities. An air of anxiety and expectation filled the room, but Emily was confident. "Let's come together and bring our best ideas. If we fail, we'll do it together and learn from the experience," she said, and the spirit of camaraderie began to prevail. The positive energy was contagious, making Ryan feel increasingly isolated in his attempts to undermine Emily. On the day of the workshop, the room was filled with enthusiasm. Emily and David opened the session, and the interaction was instantly warm. He brought new ideas, and Emily, excited, encouraged everyone to contribute what they could. However, Ryan, determined to maintain his facade of superiority, decided to interrupt. After a few minutes, he raised his voice. "This is all very nice, but there's little time to do something truly meaningful. I think Emily should reconsider what she's proposing." Emily paused, her heart racing, but she remembered her newfound strength. Instead of letting the provocation shake her, she took a breath and looked at her colleagues. "What matters is that we're here together to learn from each other. Let's focus on what we can create collectively, not on what we can't do again," she replied, a spark of determination in her eyes. Her response was met with applause and supportive laughter, while Ryan muttered to himself, frustrated. With each activity of the workshop, Emily noticed the transformation of the team. Interactions were more open, ideas were more creative, and colleagues began to see each person's contribution as a precious element. Emily was truly fostering a new team spirit. David, appreciating every moment, began to question Ryan's role within the team. The workshop culminated in a presentation of the final results. Emily was radiant, a mix of nerves and excitement, as each group presented their ideas. The energy was electric, and the room was filled with laughter and applause. At the end, when everyone finished, Emily couldn't contain her smile. "We only achieved this because we worked together and united. Everyone is part of this victory," she exclaimed, feeling more like a leader than ever. In that moment of celebration, David approached her. "You really brought the team together, Emily. That was incredible. I've always admired your ability to see the best in people," he said sincerely. Her heart raced at the compliment, a mix of friendship and something more. But the joy of the moment was interrupted when Ryan, already humiliated, decided to act. He confronted everyone, insinuating that the workshop had been a failure and Emily was just taking up a space she didn't deserve. The room froze, laughter ceased. "I can't believe everyone bought into her idea. She has already shown that she doesn't belong to this group," he challenged, hoping to provoke doubt. Emily felt the impact of the words, but this time, instead of backing down, she took a deep breath and looked at Ryan. "If everyone is here today, it's because we believe in each other, regardless of what you say. I belong to this team because I've dedicated myself, and every day I will fight for us." The atmosphere filled with frantic applause, and the team's support wrapped around her like a warm hug. Ryan fell silent, gradually realizing that his game was running out. Emily's determination touched everyone's hearts, showing that unity and respect surpassed petty rivalries. From that moment on, Emily realized she was ready to overcome many more storms and challenges. The team remained strong, united more than ever, and her relationship with David deepened in a way she couldn't explain. He had become not just an ally, but a vital presence in her journey. Together, they were ready to create an environment where everyone could thrive, and Emily knew that her future was finally in her own hands. The warmth of the celebration still lingered in the room when Emily left, her heart racing with the mix of emotions stirred by her colleagues and especially by David. As she began to reflect on the challenges faced, her mind also turned to Ryan. His resentment could lead to even more serious consequences. In the following days, she noticed that the team dynamic was more cohesive, and they were soon preparing for a new project that could take them to a new level. Emily and David sat together to plan a proposal that would impress the management. Their collaboration flourished, generating innovative and effective ideas that reflected the team's potential. Emily felt that, with David's support, she was truly making a difference. However, the atmosphere of harmony was vulnerable. Ryan, feeling threatened, began to sow distrust in informal conversations, insinuating that Emily's victory was just a fluke, not a lasting reflection of her capability as a leader. "Do you think this will last? Emily is still an inexperienced person who doesn't match our level," he told some colleagues, visibly indignant, but most ignored his words, recognizing the value Emily was bringing to the team. David, in particular, always supported her, which only intensified Ryan's jealousy. Emily realized that even amidst the team's growth, the ghost of rivalry still lingered in the air. One morning, gathering the team to discuss the upcoming project, Emily decided it was time to address the team's atmosphere directly. "I want us to have an open space to discuss ideas and opinions. We all have different visions, but that's what makes us stronger. If anyone has a problem, this is the time to speak up," she proposed. Ryan, who was present, lowered his head, but Emily stared at him. "Ryan, you seem to have something on your mind," she said, her voice firm. He hesitated, but the environment encouraged him, and he replied, "I think some of us still don't know where we really fit in. Emily, what do you plan for the future? This leadership can't just be a temporary stop." The room hesitated, waiting for her reaction. Emily took a deep breath. "My future is the future of all of us. I want each of you to have your space to shine. Our potential will only be realized if we work together, and I am ready to listen and learn from you." She turned to the team. "Every opinion matters, and this space should be yours, not just mine." The sincerity of her message resonated in the room, and many began to praise the collaborative model that was being promoted. David looked at Emily, amazed. He saw her not just as a leader born from competition, but as someone who genuinely cared for everyone. The energy in the room was at a peak, and the conversation flowed naturally, with ideas emerging at every moment. However, Ryan remained skeptical and resentful. In private, he became more hostile, spreading rumors about Emily, insinuating that she had received help from upper management, not through merit. But his plans began to crumble as the knowledge of Emily's authenticity spread. Many shared their own experiences of how she had helped them directly and began to defend her open and transparent leadership. Ryan was no longer just a dissenting voice. He was becoming an isolated figure. She saw it in his expression during meetings, where he sought support from voices that had already distanced themselves. Emily, witnessing this transition, felt a mix of empathy for what he was going through, but also the certainty that she could not yield to his fear and insecurity. It was time to act, and Emily decided to organize a meeting outside the office, an afternoon of team building that could include fun and reinforce bonds of friendship. With David by her side, she planned activities that promoted trust and motivation. "We need everyone's support to face Ryan and any other challenges that arise," she spoke in a tone meant to inspire the team. The day arrived, and everyone was welcomed into a vibrant environment filled with activities. The diversity of parts reflected the team that Emily was fostering. The activities were designed to break down barriers and encourage interaction. Emily and David watched the positive reactions of their colleagues as the team engaged in the proposed dynamics. At the end of the day, while everyone gathered around the table for a dinner celebration, Emily raised her glass. "Here we are, not just as colleagues, but as a team. We've learned to value our individual talents in the context. Everyone here makes a difference, and together we can go far." Her words sparked applause and cheers of encouragement. What she was saying was becoming a shared belief. But in the corner of the room, Ryan felt increasingly trapped in his insecurities, watching the opportunity slip through his fingers. He reached a critical point where his attempts to sabotage Emily became unstoppable. He needed to decide how to confront the reality that he was losing the narrative war and the respect of the team. The shift in dynamics and Emily's continuous growth seemed inevitable. The team was finally in a cycle of growth and ongoing learning, evolving from an environment of rivalry to mutual support. As she left that night, Emily felt grateful and aware that the road ahead was still long, but it was illuminated by the promise of a bright future, for herself, for David, and for everyone who believed in the power of collaboration. And the certainty of what she could achieve was now within her grasp. The positive energy from the team-building night still reverberated among Emily's colleagues when she returned to the office the next day. It was as if every smile and supportive word exchanged during dinner had transformed into fuel for the team's new phase. Upon entering, she noticed that everyone had a different disposition, a sparkle in their eyes that hadn't existed before. The feeling that the group had become more unified and resilient was palpable in the air. To harness this new spirit of camaraderie, Emily decided to implement a series of weekly feedback sessions where everyone could share their ideas, concerns, and suggestions. And don't worry, everyone has a voice and space to express what they really think here. This is our place, she said in an initial meeting, establishing an open environment. David, always by her side, supported the initiative, praising Emily for her courage to move forward. You really know how to motivate people to feel included and important. The team is stronger now, he acknowledged. Emily felt her heart warm with David's sincerity. That friendship was becoming increasingly special to her, projecting a new dimension in her professional life. However, even amidst all the euphoria, Ryan did not give up. He began to observe every move of Emily and David more closely, looking for vulnerabilities to exploit. While Emily promoted collaboration, Ryan isolated himself, and a growing sense of bitterness began to take root. He decided he needed to act quickly before he became irrelevant. One morning, seizing a moment of weakness in the team's planning, Ryan proposed an apparently harmless idea. We could have a representative for communication between the team and upper management, someone who can consolidate our concerns and feedback, he suggested. At first, the team thought it was a good idea, but Emily realized that it could open the door for Ryan to manipulate information according to his intentions. But wouldn't that go against the concept of openness and transparency we're promoting? Everyone should be heard, not just one representative, she interjected, making it clear that Ryan wasn't thinking of the team's best interests. The atmosphere in the room shifted. The trust placed in Emily was palpable, and even those who initially felt intrigued by Ryan's proposal began to support her. David, always by her side, requested the floor. Emily's proposal makes sense. Our feedback should be collective. That's how we build a strong team, advocating for everyone's interests, not just one individual's. Ryan looked visibly uncomfortable, realizing his maneuvers were failing. He thought that by using the argument of communication, he could sow more division, but Emily had proven that her approach solidified unity rather than fragmenting it. As the weeks passed, Emily continued to lead and guide the team through their new projects. The quality of work improved significantly, and the number of creative ideas increased with each meeting. The team felt like a living organism, where every part was vital, and the constant exchange of experiences strengthened the group. However, Ryan did not relent. With frustration growing, he devised a more subtle and destructive plan. He decided to sow distrust about Emily and her behavior, insinuating that her leadership was based on favoritism, especially in her relationship with David. It wouldn't be easy, but he was confident that some of the more insecure colleagues might be deceived. During a team meeting, Ryan made his first move. It's great to see everyone happy, but it's clear that David is always there to support Emily in everything, right? That could create an unequal dynamic, he insinuated, raising an eyebrow and looking around. The room fell silent, faces contorting as some began to notice nuances they might have never seen before. Emily felt a chill in her stomach. It was an attack on her integrity and her ability to lead. With a slight tremor in her voice, she intervened. "If there's one thing I've learned in these months, it's that unity is strengthened through mutual trust. David and I work together because we believe in each other, and it's that trust that allows us to succeed," she asserted firmly, realizing the importance of correcting the distortions Ryan was cultivating. "I believe everyone here wants to see our team thrive, and that only happens when we look out for one another and not just at external appearances." David joined her, and together they showed that the foundation of teamwork is trust, not jealousy. Emily's words began to ease the tension in the room, and murmurs of support began. But the battle was far from over. Ryan was undeterred, and in his mind he was plotting increasingly malicious solutions. However, the light of unity that Emily and David were fostering, as lights began to shine brightly, breaking free from the shadows of insecurity that Ryan brought. Emily didn't know that her strength and resilience were about to be tested, but she was determined to face every challenge, uniting her team and never allowing fear and distrust to triumph. The wisdom that the team was building seemed to be an unbreakable fortress, and the future, which once appeared as a tangled web of challenges, now unfolded like a promising path. Emily was determined to lead everyone to a new level of success, even though the battle with Ryan was far from over. She was stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever came next. As the week progressed, Emily felt the weight of Ryan's words still lingering in the room. The tension he had created didn't disappear instantly. It was a wound that could take time to heal. However, Emily was determined not to let this disruption destabilize the trust that had been built among the team. Instead, she decided to reinforce the idea that each person had a vital role in the team's success. In the meeting, she addressed everyone with a new proposal. "Let's have a feedback week, where we can openly express our ideas about the current projects and how we can improve. What do you think about having a dedicated space to talk without any resistance?" She looked at her colleagues' expressions, a mix of hope and skepticism. "I'm convinced that if we collaborate and share our concerns, we can overcome any challenge." David stood up and stated, "I think that's a great idea. What Emily is proposing could really strengthen our team even more." His support helped dissipate the doubts that were lingering. With a unanimous yes, the initiative was accepted, and soon everyone seemed more relaxed, recognizing that they were creating a safe space for expression. But once again, Ryan was lurking. He noticed that Emily's positive ideas were gaining momentum, and that those days of feedback could shift her perception. In a sneaky attack, he decided that a new plan was necessary. In an informal conversation with some colleagues, he began to sow the idea that a feedback space could also be a space for manipulation. He didn't hesitate to amplify his complaints about Emily. "What if she's just trying to find a way to stay in the spotlight?" he questioned, making insecure minds hesitate. That insinuation, although dishonest, had the potential to resonate in weak minds. In the first meeting of the feedback week, Emily noticed that the atmosphere was ambiguous. Some colleagues wore apprehensive expressions, and while she tried to open the floor for contributions, hesitant words emerged. "What if Emily tries to use the feedback against us?" someone whispered in a corner. Emily heard, but didn't let it shake her. "This is a space for dialogue. I genuinely want to hear from you," she asserted, her voice firm and filled with determination. What really needed to happen was the building of synergy, and so Emily began to share her own vulnerability. "I'm human. I make mistakes, but that's how we learn. And that's exactly what I hope for you, too." The dynamic began to shift. Emily's words of encouragement regarding vulnerability and learning helped some to open up. Small comments began to surface, and a space for collaboration was gradually being established. Emily noticed some changes in expressions and realized that her colleagues felt more comfortable sharing. As Ryan observed, he felt powerless. His strategy wasn't working as he had planned. Frustrated, he decided it was time to confront Emily directly, seeking a chance to reverse what he considered a downfall. Thus, in a meeting, he armed himself with sharp words. "Emily, you talk a lot about unity, but competing. Who guarantees that you don't have your own interests in all this? Where does leadership stand when seeking popularity?" he shot with forced confidence. The room was already attentive, but Emily didn't hesitate. With a steady gaze, she countered, "Ryan, I'm not here to promote myself. I'm here to foster an environment where everyone can feel welcomed and valued. No one should be afraid to express their opinions, and that starts with me as the leader." A wave of murmurs of support spread through the room, and David once again stood up. "What Emily is saying is evident. If we're here together, it's because we all belong to the same purpose. We need to support each other, not attack," he affirmed, solidifying Emily's position. Emily realized there was a turning point. With each interaction, she was proving her worth. Looking around, she saw people beginning to unite around the cause she had passionately defended. In that moment, everything seemed to align. The pieces that once seemed impossible began to find ways to connect. In her mind, the idea of hope began to blossom. Despite Ryan being an obstacle, the genuine support of her colleagues was a source of strength that kept her steady. And finally, she could see the possibility of a future where everyone had a meaningful role, where all could shine. That same day, she decided she should talk about the team's vision as a whole. Let's create a new project, a project that showcases our collective work and all our talents. Let's highlight our achievements and our accomplishments and create something that represents who we are together. What do you think? The room responded with excitement and smiles. Emily knew this was the path to solidifying unity, and the strength of that team was about to be revealed. Now, more than ever, she was ready to face any challenge, win every battle, and transform the team into a true force of collaboration. With each new day, Emily felt stronger and more confident, not just as a leader, but as a colleague who genuinely cared for everyone around her. The certainty that she could create something great solidified with every step they took together. Emily was determined not to let the shadows of the past extend over the future they were creating. The enthusiasm in the room was palpable. Emily observed every expression on her colleagues' faces as they explored their ideas for the new project. What had started as a simple proposal quickly transformed into a vibrant discussion. Everyone seemed excited to contribute, sharing their visions and talents, ready to join forces around a common cause. "We could create a mural that represents our successes, something that serves as a tribute to our effort and team unity," suggested Sarah, the most creative member of the group. Her words sparked a buzz of approval, and Emily smiled, delighted by the invigorating energy. "Great idea, Sarah," Emily replied, finding it important to acknowledge the contribution. "And we can include short biographies of each person, highlighting what everyone brought to the team's success. This will serve as a reminder of the value each of you has here." The excitement grew as other ideas began to emerge, fueling a fertile environment for collaboration. David, who always made it a point to support Emily, stood up and said, "We should also think about a launch event, something that highlights our contributions and recognizes everyone's collective effort." His serious and committed tone resonated in the room, and quickly the murmurs grew into a chorus of consensus. Emily knew this was the way to solidify the unity and strength of that team, However, as the plans began to take shape, Ryan, who remained at the back, observed the scene with a calculating look. He knew that the growing optimism could threaten his game of manipulation. In response, he decided to devise a plan to sow discord. He organized an informal dinner with a few colleagues and, in the subtlety of his conversation, insinuated that Emily was not prepared to lead them. "Are you sure you're ready for this? It could be a big mistake," he suggested, planting seeds of doubt. Despite Ryan's maneuvers, Emily and David continued to mobilize and ensure that every team member felt valued. In the week leading up to the event, the team gathered to finalize preparations and bring the mural to life. Emily noticed that gradually, the distrust left by Ryan was dissipating as their collective work progressed. When the big day of the presentation arrived, Emily was nervous but determined. As she stepped onto the stage, she looked at the faces of her colleagues, each representing more than just a name on the payroll. "Today, we are here not just to present a project, but to celebrate the team we are," she began, her voice steady and full of emotion. She shared stories, experiences, and the journey they had taken together, highlighting how each person contributed to the mural. Smiling, each member began to stand up and speak, revealing their stories and achievements. The transformation was evident, the auditorium filled with a sense of belonging that had once seemed distant. Emily felt her heart warm as she saw the connection between those she had helped unite. At the end of the presentation, applause erupted, intense and passionate, echoing off the walls of the auditorium. Emily could hardly believe what she saw. A group that had once been torn apart by insecurities now vibrated with a unity that felt unbreakable. The joy and pride in her colleagues' eyes made her realize how important this was. While Ryan, in the corner of the room, watched the scene with a frustrated expression, Emily was certain that her leadership had overcome the attempts at sabotage. Every action she and David had taken contributed to creating a safe and collaborative space that he could not reach. Knowing that the unity and strength of the team grew stronger every day, Emily felt that the challenges had been overcome. Ryan, nervous, began to realize that his destructive strategy was not working and failed to analyze the collective strength that had emerged. The shadows of his past would not linger much longer, and Emily was now ready to fight to maintain the light they had built together. After the event, the team gathered to discuss the next steps. "Let's celebrate this achievement, but we also need to plan what comes next," David proposed, always ready to support Emily. "This is our chance to show that we are ready for new challenges." And so, plans for the future began to take shape. The voices of everyone intertwined in a chorus of vibrant ideas. Emily knew she was facing a new tomorrow. With a renewed sense of purpose, the team prepared to tackle the next stages, holding on to the certainty that the true strength of the team lay in collaboration and mutual recognition. Together, they were ready to embrace evolution, galvanized by a future full of possibilities. And with that, Emily took a deep breath, feeling ready for any obstacle that might arise. The journey was not over yet, but now she had reasons to believe that the light they had created together was stronger than any shadow of the past. With the success of the event still resonating in everyone's memories, the team gathered again the next day to embark on a new phase. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of enthusiasm and determination, qualities that Emily worked hard to cultivate and maintain. She knew that the energy generated during the presentation was a perfect opportunity to formalize the next steps. "We need to set clear goals and a timeline to keep us on track," Emily began, looking into the eyes of each of her colleagues, who now seemed more confident. "We are at a crucial moment, and I want everyone to participate in the planning." Her eyes sparkled as she identified the potential of their colleagues to shape the future was evident. I suggest we divide the projects by areas of expertise so we can leverage everyone's strengths to maximize efficiency, suggested Sarah, always pragmatic in her approaches. Everyone nodded in approval, and Emily felt a wave of gratitude. Sarah was a key piece in the puzzle they were assembling. And we could hold regular meetings to track our progress, added David excitedly. It's important that everyone feels included throughout this process. Emily smiled at the engagement. The team was once again demonstrating that collaboration was the pillar that would support their efforts. In the days that followed, the team dove headfirst into their tasks. Each person dedicated themselves to their part, and the sense of unity grew with each achievement. Emily made sure everyone was being heard, which empowered her even more. Group readings, team-building activities, and interdepartmental integration became part of their daily routine, and small advances soon turned into significant accomplishments. Meanwhile, Ryan remained lurking in the shadows. He couldn't allow Emily and the team to succeed without a fight. Discreetly, he began to sow doubts and insecurities once again. His biting comments were more subtle but still penetrating. Do you really believe this project will be viable? The challenges are enormous, he would say in informal conversations. Some colleagues, still unsure, couldn't help but lose enthusiasm. But Emily was aware of Ryan's behavior and didn't let his comments affect the team's morale. In a moment of inspiration, she decided to implement an anonymous feedback system. This way, everyone could express their concerns or doubts without fear. Let's create a space where we stay together, even when facing what isn't easy, Emily announced in a meeting, receiving enthusiastic nods. Trust in the team was growing. When the first ideas began to emerge in the new projects, Emily was surprised by the originality and innovation of the proposals. It was fascinating to see how each member brought a unique touch. Some ideas were so bold that even David was taken aback. "This could be revolutionary," he exclaimed, excited. The collaborative atmosphere continued to solidify. Each meeting was filled with laughter and idea exchanges. They all began to know each other not just as colleagues, but as friends supporting one another. Emily felt almost as if she had a second family. However, she knew that the time for action was approaching. With the timeline of goals in mind, Emily decided it was time to test the waters with some proposals. One day, while organizing the presentation for the first project they were working on collectively, Emily paused. She observed how the happy collaborators were organizing themselves. "How about a presentation to the board?" she suggested boldly. Although a wave of trepidation washed over her, she was met with a chorus of affirmative voices. "Yes, we need them to see the strength of our team and the innovative ideas we're creating," commented Sarah with her determined gaze. Emily and the team prepared for the presentation with a mix of anxiety and excitement. Days were dedicated to rehearsals, and as the day approached, the nervousness transformed into positive impatience. The vision board that originally celebrated their achievements was no longer just a backdrop. It had become a vibrant symbol of the team's new identity. Meanwhile, Ryan, realizing that his game was slipping away, began to stir the waters more intensely. He spoke to the members who were still unsure and started to sow discord. "They're not ready. If they present now, they might get hurt. Victory could come at a high cost," he whispered to his colleagues. The danger of his words began to seep in, and Emily realized it was more crucial than ever to monitor the team's morale. However, Emily didn't let herself be intimidated. She spoke openly with everyone, encouraging them to challenge their fears and doubts. "Remember the victories we've already achieved. What we've built together is greater than any shadow of the past," she encouraged. When the day of the presentation arrived, the team was in need of one last push. Emily recalled the vision board, highlighting the importance of each contribution and the collective value, and promised, Today, it's not just about us presenting a project, but about showing the strength we've built together. The moment had arrived, and as they prepared to present their ideas, Emily looked at her colleagues with a strong sense of pride. Regardless of what happened, they were ready to face the next phase of the journey, firm in the new light they had created together, ready to shine. The message was clear. Collective strength speaks louder than individual doubt. The team was ready to prove this to the world. The big presentation was about to begin, and the atmosphere in the conference room was electric. Emily watched her team members organize themselves, their voices intertwining to create a symphony of nervous whispers and soft laughter. The vision board adorned the wall, filled with vibrant images and exciting descriptions of each achievement, serving as a tangible reminder of what they had overcome together. "Let's remember our focus," Emily urged, gesturing for them to come closer to form a circle. "This presentation is about us, about everything we've fought to build. Look at the vision board. Each of us has an important piece in this puzzle. This is where we show the strength of our unity." David beside her nodded in agreement. With his charismatic way, he always managed to bring lightness to moments that could become heavy. "What if we take a moment before we go in? How about a collective shout to scare away the insecurities and the voices trying to bring us down?" he suggested, smiling confidently. The idea made the team laugh, and the energy began to shift. The room echoed with a soft and lively cheer. "Strength is our mark!" they shouted together, and the room began to buzz again. Emily felt a warmth in her chest, a glimpse of the resilience growing among them. It was the essence of a team that had not only come together around a project, but had become a true family. As the group settled back down, the door opened and the executives started to enter the room. Emily's heart raced, but looking at the familiar faces beside her, she felt a wave of security. They were together, and that was all that mattered. When everyone was in, the room immediately lit up with the energy of the focused team. The executives took their seats, and Emily began the presentation. "Good morning, everyone. We are here not only to present a project, but to celebrate the unity and collaboration we have built within our team." As they presented the project, Emily was sure they were doing better than they had imagined. The mutual support among the team made everyone feel more at ease, challenging their anxieties as they spoke. Emily cast an evaluative glance at Ryan, who was watching from a negative, almost disdainful posture. He was trying to stir discord, but Emily was determined not to let anything distract her. Sarah, who was now emerging as a true leader in her own right, presented her section with passion. "In our project, we not only included everyone's ideas, but we also developed an approach that integrates every element of our work into a cohesive system." Emily's eyes sparkled with pride as she saw Sarah's confidence solidify. David also followed with his upbeat demeanor, explaining the importance of mutual recognition, one of the foundations upon which they built their unity. "We believe that celebrating our successes, no matter how small, is crucial for our growth as we continue on this path together. This is a team that deserves recognition." The executives listened attentively, and Emily began to notice positive signs. The expressions of disinterest she often saw in previous meetings were dissipating, and instead there was curiosity and approval as their ideas began to resonate. However, just as they were about to present the project results, Ryan made his move. He interrupted the presentation with a not-so-subtle whisper. "Do you really think this works? Have you seen the market reality? Words alone won't guarantee results." His words hung in the air, echoing an old resentment. The impact of his words was immediate, and a tense silence settled in the room. Emily felt insecurity trying to creep in again, but she was unwilling to let him undermine the strength they had built. She quickly regained her composure, looking directly into Ryan's eyes. "Ryan, we have faced and overcome challenges together, and every step we take reflects our commitment to success. This project is based on genuine collaboration, not just empty words." The executives who were observing the interaction began to smile. They could feel the tension transforming into a determination. Emily's team had become resilient in the face of Ryan's attacks, and what once seemed a weakness had now become their strength. The atmosphere of optimism grew again, and the presentation moved forward. As they reached the results, Emily saw the faces of the executives light up at the sight of the innovation and cohesion they had fostered. One of them even nodded, acknowledging the validity of that approach. At the end of the presentation, applause filled the room like an effective roar. Emily felt that her team had not only proven their capability, but had also united at a new level. "We are proud of you," exclaimed one of the executives. "The way you work together is inspiring, and this is exactly what we need from a team. We look forward to supporting this initiative." The feeling of victory flowed through Emily and her team like a warm wave. They had finally carved out their space with their achievements, showing the world that true strength lay not just in numbers, but in unity around a common goal. As the room began to empty, Emily looked at her team, feeling stronger than ever. They had overcome the shadows, and today were an unbreakable force, ready to face any challenge that came their way. What once seemed distant was now within reach. The future was bright and full of possibilities. The echo of applause still resonated in Emily's mind as she and her team left the conference room. The adrenaline coursed through their veins, mixed with a sense of relief and accomplishment. The walls of the company seemed more vibrant, as if reflecting the new energy emanating from that united group. "You were amazing!" exclaimed Sarah, barely able to contain her joy. "I can't believe we did it!" The excitement in her voice was contagious to everyone around. Laughter and enthusiastic claps from their colleagues echoed, and Emily felt closer to them than ever. David, ever the optimist, insisted on organizing a small celebration after work. "Let's go to that new pub on the corner. We need to celebrate this victory and toast to our team." The idea received immediate enthusiasm, and soon everyone agreed to follow David. The celebration plans became a moment of relief and relaxation, something everyone deserved after so much effort. At that pub, with loud music and laughter filling the air, each person began to share their stories about the process. The challenges faced, the doubts, and how they overcame the team's insecurities. Emily watched it all with immense satisfaction. It was gratifying to see each member vibrant and confident, no longer overshadowed by the shadows left by Ryan. Throughout the night, it became evident that collaboration had not only generated results, it transcended into something deeper. "I've never felt part of such a united team," confessed one of the new members, Michael. "Before, I was just another empty face in the room. Now, I feel like I truly matter." Her words struck the heart of each person, and the connection that had been forged grew stronger with every compliment and shared laugh. "This is just the beginning," Emily interjected, raising her glass in a toast. "We've overcome a challenge and become a team. Now let's do it again with even bigger projects." The overall excitement surged, and the glasses clinked with cheerful sounds, echoing promises of new achievements. Time at the pub flew by, and the night was filled with more laughter, discussions about future ideas, and promises of mutual support. Emily was the mediator of it all, always with a contained smile that revealed her unwavering faith in the potential of everyone there. If she was once just a boss, now she felt like a true leader. After the celebration, everyone dispersed, but the shared energy still lingered in the air. As she walked home, Emily reflected on the events of the past few days. Her mind was troubled by the passage of time and the uncertainties that could arise again. The difficulties that Ryan represented had not disappeared. They had merely reshaped. The shadow could still try to return, but now Emily and her team were stronger. In the following days, the team prepared for the next project to be presented to the board. The optimism was palpable, but Ryan continued to make his stealthy moves. He began to approach some team members again, making subtle comments about the effectiveness of the team's work and sowing doubts once more. Laying the groundwork for a fall, Emily thought, knowing that the danger had not passed, but the resilience and unity were stronger. Noticing the growing rumors among the team, Emily called an emergency meeting. Around the table, worried faces indicated that tension was building. I know some of you have been hearing comments from Ryan. We cannot allow this to divide us again. What we have achieved so far is stronger than any doubt he tries to sow, Emily said firmly. Sarah, who had been a great force in the new team, stood up. We need to be honest with each other. If anyone has doubts or concerns, this is our space to talk about it. We are a team, and that means we can confront the truth together. Sarah's words resonated, and soon everyone was openly discussing their insecurities. Emily realized that this environment of trust was truly stabilizing. For her, it was proof that true teamwork was founded not only on collaboration, but also on the ability to face vulnerability. From now on, let's commit to speaking openly. Nothing will be hidden anymore. If there's something bothering us, we need to address it immediately. The team agreed, and the atmosphere began to fill with renewed energy. Emily smiled, knowing that the team had learned to face challenges openly, and that this, in itself, was a great victory. With that, they began to work together on their new proposal, more united than ever. The project began to take shape. They discussed ideas enthusiastically, while Ryan's comments dissipated like smoke in the wind. The focus was on creation and collaboration, and the team was becoming increasingly unbeatable. The new project was soon approaching its deadline, and with each passing day, confidence grew. Emily, with her optimistic spirit, guided the team, highlighting every progress and praising the creativity and hard work that everyone was putting in. It was a moment of unity, and she knew that regardless of what Ryan might plan, the vulnerability and strength of her team were more than a battle standard. It was the true essence of what they had become. And so, as the days passed and the presentations approached, Emily couldn't help but feel that, regardless of the future, they were ready to face whatever came their way. The true power of the team was not just in their achievements, but in the possibility of reaching new horizons together. As the day of the presentation approached, the atmosphere in the team room was a mix of tension and excitement. Emily and her colleagues had gathered for the final revisions of the project, and the vibrant energy of that team, nurtured by mutual support, was palpable. Everyone was eager to finally show the world what they had built together. Remember that we are presenting something we all believe in. Let's show this to the directors, Emily reminded everyone, encouraging them to give their best. Each of you has an important part in this project. More than just presenters, we are representatives of the strength and unity we have cultivated. The team's enthusiasm was contagious, but Emily knew that Ryan was lurking, undoubtedly trying to find vulnerable cracks to exploit. In informal meetings, his negative influence had diminished considerably, but the disdain he cultivated still hung like a strange cloud over some members. Emily decided she needed to confront this directly. In the last meeting before the presentation, Emily provided a moment of reflection. We have achieved so much together, and it's normal to feel a bit of butterflies before the big debut. I believe the key lies in all the care and dedication we've put into this project. Let's each vocalize one aspect that we feel is our strong point. Sarah started, soon followed by David, who emphasized the spirit of unity they had achieved. When it was Michael's turn, he hesitated and in a breath said, "I still feel that Ryan might try to destabilize this. What he can do is just words, but we can unite and be stronger than that." Michael's words resonated, reinforcing what everyone was thinking. "Exactly, Michael. What Ryan doesn't realize is that we're different now. We can rise together, and any attack from him will only make us stronger. It's going to strengthen us because we've already overcome so much. And if he tries anything, we need to support each other," Emily encouraged, making everyone feel empowered. With each call for support, a growing warmth filled the room. Emily knew that Ryan's presence, although still a concern, no longer generated the uncertainties that once controlled the team's emotions. There was security in the truth, and the truth was that they were stronger together. On the day of the presentation, the team gathered before entering the boardroom. Emily looked at her colleagues, took a deep breath and said, "Let's remember everything we've accomplished. We're here to show what we've done together and what truly matters." The boardroom, still grand and ceremonial, was filled with directors wearing attentive expressions. Emily felt a flutter in her stomach, but looking at her team, it dissipated like a breeze. As she ensured that the structure and details of the presentation were in order, David took the floor and quickly introduced everyone. "Good morning, everyone. Today we bring much more than a project. We bring a work that is the expression of our team's strength, a work built with each person's ideas to create an innovative impact in our field," David began, always with a smile on his face. Together, they presented the innovative concepts they had been working on, each contributing their part, and soon the directors were showing interest. The directors' faces began to light up with the clear and vibrant vision the team demonstrated. During the presentation, Emily instinctively noticed Ryan at the door. He was watching from a strategic distance, with a sarcastic smile that revealed a disguised disdain. Emily's first reaction was a slight cooling of adrenaline, but instead of allowing it to affect her, she decided to use his presence as a reminder of how far they had come. As she reached the final part of the presentation, Emily made sure to summarize the journey and what they had learned. "We've gone from chaos to clarity, building a space where our talents and ideas came to life. It's not just about this project, but about the culture we've developed as a team, a strong and resilient team. We thank you for the opportunity to share our passion with you." Hearing the emotion in Emily's voice, the directors began to ask relevant questions, showing genuine interest. What was once a cold room now felt more like a lively space where the vibrant exchange of ideas was welcome. At the end of the last question, one of the directors stated, "The unity and dedication you've shown here are impressive, and we look forward to seeing this project grow." The applause that followed was more than a response. It was validation. Emily looked at her team and realized that the warmth and unity that had guided them were now palpable in front of the directors. And in that moment, still feeling Ryan's presence, Emily noticed that his power was no longer an obstacle, but an additional motivation, knowing they had risen above their insecurities. Now, with the certainty that they had earned the respect and support of the board, the team left the room, stronger than ever. Emily felt that a new phase was approaching, filled with new challenges and opportunities. But above all, a phase in which they would continue to support and strengthen each other like never before. "We're ready for whatever comes next," David said as they left the room together. Emily smiled, knowing that now, more than ever, it was true. After all, true strength was not just an achievement, it was the day-to-day of what they built together. The doors to the future were open, and the team was absolutely ready to walk through them together, one step at a time. After the presentation, the atmosphere in the company was electrified. The board's support reignited the team's enthusiasm, and everyone was eager to put into practice what they had presented. Emily noticed that the confidence that had blossomed in the meeting room was reflected in their daily interactions, and the collaborative spirit grew stronger every day. Sarah, naturally optimistic, suggested holding a meeting to define the next steps. "Let's get together to organize our launch strategy. This is the right moment to turn our ideas into action." The proposal generated an excited buzz, and Emily agreed, wanting to seize the momentum that had been created. During the meeting, as ideas flowed, Emily was impressed by the level of engagement. Michael suggested a marketing campaign that highlighted the authenticity of the team and the story of overcoming challenges that united them. "Our uniqueness is our differentiator," he asserted confidently. As everyone contributed, Emily felt grateful to have such a talented team. The energy in the room grew, and each new proposal seemed to reinforce the structure they had built together. Sarah reminded everyone that they were all in the same boat and needed a timeline to track results. The idea was well received, and everyone agreed to create an action plan. However, Emily couldn't shake the impression that Ryan, though silent, was watching their movements. He still lingered around, and the shadow of his dissociative comments hadn't completely disappeared. Thus, Emily decided to address the issue directly. She called a meeting with the key members, concerned that external influences could affect the team's self-esteem. "It's common for insecurity to arise," Emily began, "so let's commit to keeping our communication open." The team members were receptive. "We need to reinforce that we can count on each other no matter what happens outside," David said, reaffirming the confidence that now permeated the group. Encouraged by the unwavering support of her colleagues, Emily decided that it was also essential to hold an internal presentation. The goal would be to keep everyone in the company informed about the project and the collaborative culture they had cultivated. "This is the beginning of a new chapter for us all. It's our moment to show how much we've evolved and how our collective strength can make a difference," emphasized Emily. In the following days, the team prepared diligently. The conversations and exchanges of ideas became more intense, and gradually the sense of belonging and pride among them grew. Emily observed the progress with optimism, but Ryan's presence was still a concern. Finally, at an internal presentation meeting, Emily took the floor. "We are here to share who we are as a team. The strength we derive from each other is what makes us resilient." Emily knew her words needed to resonate with anyone who had doubts about the team. As they presented, they realized they were building something extraordinary, turning doubts into plans and converting uncertainties into achievements. By the end, the atmosphere of collaboration was more vibrant than ever. "It's impressive what your team has accomplished," praised one of the directors. "We're excited to see what comes next." The applause that followed was like a seal of approval for the determination and effort everyone had shown. But even with the success and support, Emily felt that Ryan had not yet given up. He might be watching the reactions, ready to exploit any weakness. Aware of this, Emily took the initiative, reinforcing continuous communication within the team. "We can barely reach our full potential if we let ourselves be shaken by outside comments," reflected Emily in an informal conversation with her colleagues. "What truly matters is what we build here together." This focus on unity led the team to become a fortress against any attack of doubt that might arise. In light of this, Emily recognized that regardless of the challenges, the true strength lay in how they had learned to collaborate, understand, and support each other in times of uncertainty. With this renewed determination and strengthened connection, everyone was ready for the next challenges that life and the company had in store for them. In their hearts, they were the protagonists of a story in the making, one that would be marked by achievements, challenges, and above all, the certainty that together they were unshakable. With this conviction, Emily and her team were prepared to step through the doors of the future, one firm and determined step at a time.